Two, one. There it is. One. Blast stop. All right. I can hear my music playing. Maybe I should crank up that music a little more. It's already at 30. Normally that's twice as loud as what I can hear at home and get terrible feedback. Hey, welcome to the Cosmic Cafe Show. My name is Eric Brown. I will be your host and server. Today I am broadcasting live from the Awarness Life Expo here in Sacramento, California. Today's date, August 13, 2016. And sitting next to me is the very lovely and beautiful and kind and enlightened Mary Barr, who also happens to be a book author. And welcome to the cafe.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Actually, Mary and I have known each other for, I think, a couple of years now. We've known each other through a common friend, Lori McDonald, who is not at the expo today for personal reasons, but she introduced us, and they're in similar lines. And Mary has written a very interesting and fascinating book, which she's going to be talking about here shortly. And as you can see, the lobby or the booth area of the expo there in the lower right corner of the show screen is not as busy as it was earlier, which is good. It's made it a little quieter here for us today. And Mary, why don't you show everybody your book first so they know what we're talking about?
All right. Actually, I have two books out. The first one is called Aliens Answer. The second book is a continuation of interviews, and it's simply called Aliens Answer 2. Available on Amazon.
Let's get that up there nice and bold. We'll just cover up our faces there for a minute so everybody can see that. There we go. And you said that's available on Amazon.
Yes.
So make sure you go to Amazon because you're going to want to read this book. I promise you that. We just sat down before we even started the show, and I started asking Mary, I said, okay, we got to stop. We got to start the show because this is too good to not talk about on the show. So tell us briefly what kind of restart where we were going with that, I guess, put on the rewind.
Well, I would have to start this by saying 7 years ago, I would have said this was impossible. However, as we go through life, we find out that sometimes things are possible.
Keep talking.
I am, in fact, stunned and very pleased to be able to share with the public what has happened to me as a hypnotherapist. As a hypnotherapist, I often help people who are experiencers. If you don't know what that is, it means those who have encounters in one form or another with off-planet beings, or aliens, if you will. I'm here to assure you that, in fact, this does happen. And I have also found out that therapists find this more and more common in their practice as they have been willing to explore it. This came about initially because one of my clients, Steve Richmuth, asked me to regress him, and I did. It was a fabulous regression because he has a photographic memory, not only for today, but in the state of regression. He's actually able to remember in great detail.
Wow.
What has happened. He went back to a past life in which he was an attorney in the 1600s. And he described his farm, his house, his wife and children, all of the utensils on the table, what they ate, what they drank. He described his two horses out in the carriage shed and even knew the names of them. Well, I was rather intrigued to find someone who had that kind of memory.
Yeah, no kidding.
Later on, we were talking, and he said, "Do you suppose it's possible to talk to aliens?" And even though I've had lots of clients who in fact talk to aliens, I kind of chuckled and I said, well, why not? Let's give it a try.
So he wanted to talk to aliens.
Yes, he wanted to talk to them directly.
Wow.
And I didn't know what would happen, but what happened was this. I put Steve in a state of deep hypnosis, and then I said, is there anyone here who would like to talk with us? After about 20 seconds, a voice comes through and says, we are here. My reaction to that was, oh, okay. This is probably a spirit or his unconscious mind. But, you know, I went along and I said, well, who are you? And the voice said, you may call me Han. I said, fine. And then I said, well, where are you from? And he said, Zeta Reticuli. Well, I know where that is. So, when I heard that, all the hair in the back of my neck stood up, and I was on high alert.
Wow, yeah, no
So,
kidding.
I said, okay, what is your agenda? And he said, to make contact. And I thought about that for a while and said, do you mind if I ask you a few test questions? And he said, no, go ahead. I asked him what was on the far side of the moon, since no one wants to tell us anything.
Right. I'll have you just look up at that camera there. There we go.
And he said, sometimes we land on the far side of the moon and we come and go from there, but you would never see us because we can camouflage ourselves very well. And I thought, oh my goodness, maybe I have something going here. So I asked him about 6 or 7 more questions. They were scientific in nature. And in the meantime, I'm kind of shaking inside. And I asked, can we come and talk to you again, maybe next week? And he said yes. So I closed that first session.
Wow.
So the next session, the following week, I made sure I had questions.
Yeah.
So
That was Han.
Han, because
That was the first visit with Han.
because I enjoy science so much, I pulled together from here and there.
Yeah.
And I decided at that point to never tell Steve what I was going to ask, because I wanted authentic, spontaneous answers that didn't come from his unconscious mind.
Okay.
So we did this for some months, and one thing that happened that really startled me was that after Han had gotten to know me a little bit
Yeah.
and realized that what I was interested in was not publicity or my ego, it was knowledge.
Right.
And he said, do you mind if I leave a gift for you? And immediately I'm thinking, okay.
You mean like the neighbor's dog?
Yeah. He said, oh, don't worry. I just want to place a flag in your auric field.
Oh.
It's like a light flag.
Okay.
And the purpose being that if you wish to explore and talk with others of my species, it's an introductory card. In essence, it's an introduction that says you would be accepted into our society.
Okay.
So I said, okay, that sounds really amazing.
Yeah.
And I was quite moved by that, actually, that he would think to do that.
Really?
So Steve and I continued on and on with these questions. And finally, I invited Dr. Gene Lipson, a medical doctor that I know, to submit some questions. Mm-hmm. And he did.
Okay.
And they were answered, in a very forthright manner. Later on, I decided to experiment a little bit more. So I wanted to make sure that these beings could come through other people.
Okay.
I asked Dr. Lipson if I could hypnotize him. and perhaps let these beings come through him.
Okay.
And he said, oh, he was delighted at the opportunities. Okay. So Dr. Lipson went immediately into a deep trance.
Wow.
And so I asked him questions, and Han just stepped forward almost instantaneously.
Wow.
So I found that very reassuring to know that these beings could, in fact, move around, and to me it gave it more credence.
Because it's coming through somebody different.
Absolutely.
But the same entity. And you knew it was the same entity. So it wasn't there's no way it could be a manufactured.
No, same personality, same kind of warm, congenial feeling about him.
Right.
Another thing that happened to me early on in this process was that I'm sitting at my computer typing away, and all of a sudden I feel the back of my neck like someone had come up behind me and just taken their hands and pressed them around my neck ever so gently.
Ooh.
Well, I didn't totally freak out, but I going, oh my. And then it stopped. So I didn't.
She was
I didn't
making
know.
that motion.
Yes, around the back of the.
Hold that up so.
Yeah. Right around like that, just like two hands.
There we go. I wanted to make sure everybody could see that. Yeah.
I didn't know who did this.
Right.
But I did ask Han if he knew anything about it. And the first thing he did was apologize. And he said, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to frighten you. It was just our way of giving you a hug.
Oh.
And I thought about this. Well,
interesting.
They wouldn't hug us the way we might hug someone.
Okay.
For what matters to them is their brain, their mind.
Okay.
So that gesture is really applied to the direction of the mind.
Okay.
So,
interesting.
And from that point, I didn't know what else might happen. One thing that did happen is they started checking on me.
Okay.
About every week or so.
Oh.
And they checked in a most peculiar way. There was Han and Zester and Jen, and there were others there that would come along for these interviews.
Uh-huh.
And they, I don't know how they did it, but right here in the crown of my head, I would feel this little tickling, like a shot of electricity.
Oh.
So I brought that up to them. I said, what is going on? And the answer I got back was, we're smiling. We didn't know if you would be able to feel that from some of the other Zetas. And I said, oh yes, I felt it.
So Mary, I got a question for you. You've done these communications through, I guess, clients of yours that have sat there and you've hypnotized them, and then you feel these different things from Han. Has Han ever approached you directly, like in your conscious state? Like, could he, if he wanted to approach you now and you would feel that tickling in your head, or you might feel that on your neck, maybe not necessarily hear him say anything, or does he talk to you telepathically?
Yes, I can talk to Han and Zester and Jen telepathically.
Oh.
Occasionally I can't wait to ask a question.
Uh-huh.
So if I can't wait, then I put myself in a state of meditation and ask the question, and they come right through very quickly and answer my question.
Okay.
I don't spend a lot of time doing that because I think it's more important to have a separation.
Yeah.
And also it enables me to record it, transcribe it, and anyone can say anything about what's coming through their own brain.
Right.
But there's more credence. You do it through another person or several other people.
Right.
And you have a recording. As I went along this journey, I realized that the information was so astounding and so new that I couldn't possibly keep it to myself.
Right.
It was never my intention to write books.
Yes, ma'am.
But
This is fascinating, though. I mean, I'm anxious to read your book.
Thank you.
Truly. And I want to thank you for giving me a book. Full disclosure, too. I guess I didn't click the right button there. Full disclosure, everybody. She did give me a book, but and I'm really looking forward to reading it. And how can people, because I mean, we just barely scratched the surface, and you now have 2 books that are chronicling this information, and also, didn't you mention that it teaches people, or you can help people to actually learn to communicate with aliens if they so choose that they would want to?
Yes. In fact, I gave a lecture and a handout at MUFON that told people what they needed to know to contact aliens. Now, frankly, if you are a person who has a lot of fears, if you are a person who is not very sharing, you don't want to go there. You need to have a certain level of maturity, self-confidence.
So I wouldn't be a good candidate.
Hey, if you want to do something good for other people, they would probably enjoy talking to you.
Thank you. I appreciate that. You're here talking with me, so I guess that's a good, you can put in a good word for me.
Absolutely.
I'd like to try that.
And I'll be happy to share those details with you after this interview.
Absolutely.
I want you to know that people hear the word gray, and there's a lot of stories going around about the horrible grays who kidnap people and kill cattle and all that. When you hear the term gray, realize that that is just a vague description of a huge number of beings. And within that set of beings, there are different subsets.
Yeah.
And some of them are notorious for being insensitive and coming and taking genetic material and literally trading on their black market. There are a number of grays that belong to benevolent society. There are some that are so advanced that we really might have trouble communicating back and forth at their level. I struggle to talk to these Zetas in a way that they might find interesting. I have to be at my intellectual best to hold these conversations. And it's not easy to be at your intellectual best hour after hour.
Yeah, I know that feeling, that's for sure. Well, hey, Mary, it's been about 15 minutes or so, and I know you got to get back to your booth and everything. Tell people again, how can they get their book? Let's show your book again real quick so people can see your book, and just hold it up there so people can. You said Amazon.com, right?
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah, Amazon.com, and find her book there. Do you have a Facebook page or a Twitter?
Yes, I do.
What's your Facebook page?
It's just Mary Barr. I think it's Mary Barr 946, but they'll find it. Just run Mary Barr.
And when you're on Facebook, go to my page, Cosmic Cafe Show, and share it to your page, and so that way you can use the video there. Well, I'm going to go ahead and close things out for this session with Mary. So thank you for coming to the cafe. And I'm going to say adios to everybody. Thanks again for tuning in to this episode of the Cosmic Cafe Show with my special guest and friend, Mary Barr, who was so kind to give me one of her books. And I'm really, really looking forward to reading it. And I will go to Amazon and buy the first edition as well. So she doesn't have to give me that one. But I definitely, if you are intrigued or fascinated by this at all, please check out her Facebook page. Please, watch the video, share the video, go to Amazon, get her book, do her a favor, and all that. And with that, thank you again for tuning in, and we'll catch you with another guest here at the Awarness Life Expo in Sacramento, California. Thanks again for watching. See you soon. Let me go ahead and turn off the broadcast here.